Assalamu alaikum. This is Maharuk Mehman. In this lecture, we are going to learn about reading comprehension. Reading comprehension is a very famous term that we all might have heard everywhere in English language classrooms, whenever reading or whenever coming across any reading geek. All right, so we know what is reading, right? Reading is a form of language skill in which we receive through the written text. And what is comprehension? Comprehension means understanding. So there could be listening comprehension in which we understand what is being said, and in reading comprehension, we understand what is being read. So, reading comprehension, there is a lot of things to talk about in reading comprehension. We will begin our lecture with understanding that why should we read and why should we understand what we are reading. And then we will move forward to learning about how we can actually improve our reading comprehension. What could be some of the techniques that we should apply when we are reading? All right, let's begin. What is the purpose of reading? We all know what is reading, and we come across lots of readings in our everyday life, from reading textbooks to reading billboards and lots of things. We keep on reading every day. All right, if we don't read any textbooks or even billboards, we read lots of texts and social media posts at least. I think all of us would agree on that. All right. So whenever we are reading, there could be different purposes of what we are reading that would vary depending on what text we are reading. Let's say we are reading a social media post or a news article or any book or a billboard. There could be lots of things. For each thing that we are reading, there would be a different purpose. But reading in general, we would put it for reading articles and reading academic writing or academic textbooks. So the purpose of reading, every time you're reading, is to connect to what the author has to say. So everything that we read is written by someone else. So when we read, we try to understand what the author is trying to say and why he has written what he has written and what is his underlying message. So the purpose of reading is to connect the ideas on the page that you to which you already know. So there is a direct connection between what the author has to say and what our background knowledge is. And through reading, we enrich our existing knowledge. If you don't know anything about a subject, then pouring words of text into your mind is like pouring water into your hand. You just don't retain much. So this is the idea that again emphasizes on the importance of background knowledge when reading. So let's say, for example, if I open up an article about medical sciences. Well, I'm not a medical student, so I would not be able to retain much of it, right? I might have a thorough idea what it is written about, but it's medical terminology, medical context, all these things, I won't be able to retain them in my mind. Okay, so if we already know something about the subject, then there are better chances that we would be able to retain what is being said. Let's say I'm a social sciences student. I'm interested in news and politics, so let's say. So if I read an article on politics, it would be easier for me to understand the subject. Okay, so then I'll be able to retain much. So then it would be like pouring water into my mouth. All right. So the next point is you have a framework in your mind for reading, understanding, and storing information. So this means that reading is a complex process and there is a mechanism and framework in our mind that helps us in reading and facilitates the process of overall reading. So we have our cognitive and metacognitive awareness in our mind. So it's not like okay, if you don't know reading that you cannot learn it. So there is a framework that you have to follow and then automatically whatever you will read, you'll be able to comprehend it. All right, let's see this example. Let's read first number that we have mentioned here. It says it's just about reading. We're not coming to reading comprehension yet. It says, let's read it. 7516324. Okay, it was a little bit hard to read and definitely harder to remember. Okay, what about next number? 751 6324. I think it is a little bit easier to read because it has been broken into chunks. I think you all would agree to that if you read it. Okay, what about the third one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh, it was pretty easy. And now we have to ask ourselves why it is easy. It was easy because we already know the sequence of numbers and we already have this structure and knowledge in our mind. Now we don't actually we have to memorize it because it is already in our mind. All we have to do is to remember that this was the sequence mentioned in this slide. So this is same in reading. When we already have some prior knowledge, we just have to mix and match and form a sequence that we are reading about. And then we organize our overall reading process. Okay, now the most awaited session, how we are going to improve our comprehension. Everyone tells us that reading, you should have a good reading comprehension in order to understand the whatever you're reading. So improving reading comprehension is a very complex process. Reading is not easy as it sounds. Reading comprehension requires motivation, mental framework for holding ideas, concentration, and good study techniques. So, okay, if we are listening to this lecture or in any other way we want to read, that means we are motivated. When we're talking about mental frameworks, there is some ideas in our mind, those I already mentioned, cognitive and metacognitive frameworks and use of strategies and lots of other things in our minds. So all we now need is to concentrate on what we are reading, and we should have some basic techniques that we'll apply to read and comprehend the text that we are reading. Number one, develop a background knowledge. Okay, I already talked about it, and it is one of the most important things to keep in mind whenever we are reading. As a previous example, if you take anything that you don't have any interest or any background in, it would be a little bit hard to understand and comprehend it. So take a piece of article or take a piece of text that you have some knowledge about. For example, if you are a student of environmental sciences, take a piece of environmental writing. If you are a student of social sciences, take one. If you are a student of microbiology, take a piece that might interest you from microbiology. Then you will have some knowledge about it. You have certain motivation about the subject. Now, if you read that text, it would be better for you to understand. For example, reading reading magazines or any books. So that would again vary. Choose something that you are interested in and that you have certain background knowledge about. Okay, once we have the text, the next step is to know the structure of the paragraphs. Good writers construct paragraphs that have a beginning, middle, and an end. That we will discuss in another lecture when we will be talking about writing and structured essay, that we know that all the written text, all the good written text should have a proper introduction, should have some body paragraphs, and then a conclusion. So whenever we are writing an authentic material written by a good writer, so it would have a certain pattern and certain structure. And then those paragraphs would again be connected through various transitional words. Then those transitional words would give us an idea about the importance of that paragraph in the reading text. For example, the paragraph starts with however. Okay, so we would know that this paragraph is talking about something contrary that has already been talked about in the other paragraphs. Okay, similarly, if there is another paragraph that starts with, let's say, to summarize, so we would know that that paragraph is talking about the conclusion of the overall idea. So if we have to just skim the paragraph, we would just read maybe to summarize, then we will have a thorough idea what the paragraph was about. So this is a very key point, that we need to know the structure of the paragraphs in the whole text, okay, to have a thorough idea about what the structure of the text is. Next, we have to identify the type of reasoning. We have to see, does the author use cause and effect reasoning, or he's building up a hypothesis, or induction deduction method, or what? Okay, so there could be lots of things that we need to consider about what type of reasoning the author is using and giving us the reasons that he has built up his idea to. Maybe he's talking about something cause and effect. So in earlier section where he has given the causes of a certain topic, and then what is he talking about the effects of the topic? Is he going from broader to specific, or he's moving from specific to broader? So if we have a thorough idea, we can, if we look at the text, we can have a thorough idea of all these things, and we can understand in shortcuts that what the author is trying to say and what model he has used and how he has reasoned or his arguments, reasons his arguments and put them in the text. Next, what we have to do is anticipate and predict. Now, not everything could be written in a particular text, and not everything could be read and grasped from the topic. Maybe there could be lots of words that we don't understand the meaning of. There could be lots of things that we have to anticipate whether the author is trying to reinforce or not, or what is the point of view of the author. So smart readers actually anticipate what the author is trying to say, and ahead of time they get an idea that next point of author will be this, because when a writer is writing, he builds up a certain he builds up his ideas in a certain manner that when you read, you know that okay, he has made this point, that means he's definitely going to make another point that is related to that. So for being a good reader and being good at reading comprehension, you have to be smart about anticipating and predicting. That would again go for vocabulary. We understand the meaning of certain words from the context, and from the context we guess what the word might mean. Next is look for the method of organization. Is the material organized chronologically, serially, logically, functionally, hierarchically, or what? There could be lots of ways a writer can organize his text. Any text you're reading, maybe it is divided or organized historically or chronologically. Maybe earlier he's talking about 5th century, then 10th century, then 20th century, and then he talks about the present, okay? Or it could be other way around. Similarly, if he's talking about a certain series of things. So we have to see that what is the method of organization that the writer has used in the text while writing the text. Next is create motivation and interest. This is the very important point that we already discussed, that whenever you're reading a text, it is very important to have a clear motivation in your mind that would keep you on reading. Okay, then next point is pay attention to supporting cues. Okay, there could be other things that are part of the text that could help you understand the text. For example, there might be some tables or some graphs, some headings, right? Especially this would go when you're reading or reading for scanning or skimming. So in such a case, we would know that if we read the headings, we would have an overall idea that what is the organization of the author, what is the reasoning of the author, what method he has used. Maybe we can read the first and the last paragraph of the text, and then we might go for first sentence in each section, each paragraph. And from all these cues, we would have a general idea what the text is about, and these factors would enable us to comprehend the text better. Next is highlight, summarize, and review. Just reading a book once is not enough. To develop a deeper understanding, you have to highlight, summarize, and review important ideas. This is a very important point. Like, let's say, if you're reading for exam, if you're reading to retain knowledge, then it is not enough that you just read once. If you want to retain a certain knowledge, you have to keep on repeating it. Okay, you might look for words in the dictionary, you might take notes, you might highlight on the paper you're reading, and then you might take side notes. There could be lots of ways, whatever you are comfortable with or whatever is your way of studying. But these things help you to get back to the text whenever you want, because you don't have to read the whole text again and again, but you can, if you can just read the highlighted points, if you just read your notes that you have taken out from the text, that would be much easier, and that would help you enable that would enable you to retain the knowledge. Next is build a good vocabulary. That is very important point, that definitely if you have a good vocabulary, you'll be able to read more and you'll be able to comprehend more. If your vocabulary is poor, there could be lots of words in the text that you don't understand, and as a result, you won't be able to understand the text. So maybe you can learn different roots, prefixes, suffixes, and certain things like that. That would help you. At least if you don't know the meaning of the root word, then you can have an idea from the context and whether what word class that word belongs to. And in such a way, you would be able to guess the meaning. So working on your vocabulary is a very important thing that you should start right away. Use a systematic reading technique like SQRS. Develop a systematic reading style like the SQR3 method, and then adjustment to it depending on the priorities and the purpose, that for what reason you are reading, and for what do you want to retain the information. Are you skimming? Are you scamming? Are you interested? Or what is the purpose? The SQR3 method includes survey, question, read, recite, and review. Okay, so this method enables you to question what you're reading, to have a researched reading, and have a thorough comprehension of the reading text that you are doing. You question what you're reading, then you read and recite it, you try to memorize it, and then you take notes, and then you review what you're reading. So in this way, you would be able to retain much information and much knowledge. So these were the few techniques that we are highlighting here that would enable us to retain. There are other too, which talk about vocalizing words and monitor effectiveness. These are the things that grab your attention and help you retain more. If you monitor your attention and you read with concentration, that would definitely increase your comprehension, and you'll be able to work on different things. If you vocalize your words, then it would be a better way to remember what you are reading, because that way more your senses are attentive, and then you'll be able to retain more. So the overall idea of this lecture was to help you to improve your reading comprehension. Now what you have to do is you have to take a text, any text that you're interested in, maybe from your field, maybe from any of your interests. If you're interested in, let's say, anything, any of your hobby related, maybe news, maybe social issues, then try to work on all of these methods that we just discussed, and then at the end you would see that you will definitely better able to comprehend the oral text. Initially this might take a little bit more time, but once you are habitual of the practice, then I'm sure that these things will be internalized, and then you will not have to put much effort. I hope you enjoy your reading. I'll share all these materials with you and other related stuff. I hope you keep on working on this. Good luck.